Hey everybody, welcome into the rundown, the NFL rundown, week 7 DFS style. I'm your buddy Choppadong, and I am here from DFSArmy.com, one-stop shopping for all things daily fantasy sports. I'm going to be quick this week because we have a routine established in our NFL research station, and I want to show you how we're going to go about flipping some of the light switches on and off, and we're going to determine a quick player pool without even looking at the research station yet. I haven't even opened it up. I'm on the QB tab. And the first thing that I'm doing when I am looking for quarterbacks is I'm looking for home quarterbacks. Those are the guys in yellow. I'm looking for favored quarterbacks, so I sort that by ascending order to bring all of the heavy favorites to the top. And I look for implied team totals over about 24 points. So I can take the number filter here and I can go greater than 23.5 points and I can flush the dust. Now I am down to the best of the best. Where's my home quarterbacks? Where's my favorite quarterbacks? And where are those implied to score over 24 points? These are the guys roughly on the list. If I want, I can slide all the way over to fantasy points allowed per quarterback, and I can look for good matchups versus Denver, versus Detroit, versus Washington, maybe Atlanta, Seattle, and then look at who those guys are going to be. Another sneaky thing, if you follow us over at sportsbetarmy.com, I can also use some of these totals and some of these projections to go against prop bets. You want to know if Josh Allen is implied to go over or under 249 yards this week on your prop bets, projected at 244. It's not a bad bet to take the under. It's just that simple when you put all of the tools in your fingertips and start cruising through what it is that we show people how to do here at DFSArmy.com. So I'm looking for the home quarterbacks. It doesn't mean that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are bad. It just means they don't check all of the boxes. I would slide them over to more of a GPP type of pick, unless all of my other choices are trash, like we had last week. We couldn't determine who had the best shot last week. So Matt Ryan was great. We settled on Kirk Cousins. He was scary in the first half, but he came back. That's another thing that I want to point out to you guys. Don't tilt in the first half of your games. Don't be donkeys. Come on. Let the game play out. Oftentimes these players adjust in the second half, the coaches adjust, and you end up getting to be about right where you should have been in the beginning. So let's not be donkeys, let's not be tilt monkeys, and let's just keep our heads on straight as we're trying to go through another week of DFS mayhem. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are okay. Justin Herbert actually can't argue he's in a bad spot. He's in a good spot. New Orleans and Drew Brees are in decent spots. Russell Wilson's on the road. Aaron Rodgers bounce back game on the road. You might like him. Fine, go for it. And I'm not saying that Herbert or Brees are better than Wilson, Allen, Mahomes, and Rodgers. It just looks like our best quarterbacks are going to be on the road. Matt Ryan at home tends to produce better there. Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, man. Ryan Tannehill's an interesting one to me. He's a slight underdog. He's barely implied to score over 24 points, but he is at home, and he has been producing. And if we look over at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't even know that they have a great matchup against, nope, top 10 in the league. But Ryan Tannehill just kind of keeps on producing, doesn't he? Week after week after week. Kyler Murray's in a good spot. He's the underdog, but he's implied to score in what could be a little bit of a shootout. And we already saw that Seattle's in, it kind of gives up points to the defense or gives up points to the opposing quarterback. So if I had to rank these, I'm going to have to look at them a little bit closer. But I'm going to be taking some road quarterbacks, I believe, because these up here higher and in the shootouts are the quarterbacks that are usually tending to produce. These are the quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Mahomes, Allen. These are the guys that have the rushing floors that kind of help us hit value with them. So I'm going to probably be leaning a little bit more towards some of these road quarterbacks this week. If I dive over in here into the running backs page, I do the same thing. Kick off those evening games, come down to the main slate. Home, favored, implied to score over 24 points. And then I'm looking for carries and touches. I'm looking for rushing attempts. I'm looking for targets per game. I'm going to slide over even farther, and I'm going to look for red zone work, specifically inside the 10 and inside the 5. Those are my key indicators of what's going to be a good running back this week. Let's take a look and see if we can't narrow it down. Once again, we take the spread, and we go ascending order. We take the team total. We slap that filter on there of about 23.5. Needs to be bigger than that number. Those are the only guys that I am concerned with. Now, once I'm concerned with these guys, I can come over even farther and I can say your rushing attempts per game. I want more, I don't know, than about 13 or so, because I want a guy who's going to get the work. I don't mind having a little margin for error here as long as these guys are also getting targets, but look at how it whacked that list down immediately. These are not your complete list of players. These are just the best of the best. These are the red circle plays we've talked about this year, where we're looking at the best of the best, the strongest plays, the most likely based on historical numbers to hit their value and pay off their salaries. These are guys that are not only in high floor type of players, but they're also in high ceiling producing matchups. These are the guys that we want to build our lineups around. That doesn't mean we're not going to supplement with other players. A lot of weeks, especially earlier in the season, you can use these players exclusively as your player pool. But if you watch our cash game list off of things like our cheat sheets, from the full slate cheat sheets, go to the cash cheat sheet, you're going to find a lot of these players on that list. On Geek's GPP cheat sheet, you're going to find a lot of these players on the list. The chalkboard, you're going to find a lot of these players on the list. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, how'd he do last week? Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt, Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry. Adrian Peterson's interesting. David Johnson, Kenyon Drake had a better bounce back week. If I look at the home backs, Derrick Henry's at home. Okay, I'm not super high on the guy. Again, we're going back to the road. The better teams seem to be on the road. You might focus on a Kyler Murray or a Kenyon Drake, but that's if you don't mind splitting time, with Chase Edmonds. You come over here to the opposing running backs, and you're looking at an Aaron Jones is in a good spot. See, if I can find that Aaron Jones is also getting red zone love, which he is, 11 carries inside the 10, 7 carries inside the 5, and he's facing a weak defense against the run, golden. He's getting the touches, he's getting some work in the passing game. He's not at home, but he's favored and implied to score a lot of points. See, he checks all but the home or road box. So he's still a strong play. Does that make sense? You're looking for guys, if you put them side by side in a spreadsheet, you could quickly parse out how many boxes and criteria we set up, and then how many, if a guy checks 6 of 7 boxes, he's a strong play no matter which boxes he checks. If he only checks 4 out of 7 boxes, he's not as strong a play. And that's how you're going to go through this list ultimately and decide for yourself which off of these lists you want to play. When we do the wide receivers, we look for a couple of criteria here. We scrap the home and away bit because it doesn't seem to matter. And the thing that I'm looking for is team totals. I don't even need to be favored. I'm looking for team totals. So I sort this by descending order, bring all of the big offensive games to the top. I come over here to targets per game, and I cut the fluff. I don't want you unless you've got about 6 targets per game or more. Ideally, I want 8. But you're getting harder and harder to find those guys. But see, look, I've still got a long list. I'm going to want to see guys that are also factored in the red zone. So I'm going to want, say, inside the 20, I'm not going to want guys with no targets. So give me something greater than 0. Let's flush the zeros out of there. That should make that one disappear. Even 1 target in Corey Davis is kind of okay. At least he's getting used some. We're only 7 weeks into the season. We've got some time to make some adjustments, but by and large, we're wanting the higher red zone targeted guys. So we'll use that as a cross check here in a second. But over 27 points, so these guys here from about Keenan Allen up are going to be on that list. They're being targeted more than 6 times a game. Let's cross check and make sure that Keenan Allen and up are factored in the red zone. Come over to Keenan Allen. Yes, they're all factored in the red zone. Boom. Metcalf, Lockett, Devontae Adams, Ridley, Jones, Gage, Diggs, Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Tyreek Hill, and Keenan Allen are on your list. Those games are games that are featuring 3 and 4 touchdowns. There's enough love to go around to the wide receivers, but I will take the opposite effect, and I will come all the way down to the under 18 guys when I can find them, and Jamison Crowder is going to live on this list. So is Terry McLaurin, even though he's implied to score 23 points, because I guess they're technically favored by a point. But Terry McLaurin's in a smash spot against the Dallas Cowboys this week. You can't deny that. T. Higgins is in a great spot. Robbie Anderson's in an interesting spot. As long as he's not being shadowed by somebody, Robbie Anderson's in a mediocre matchup, but I would want to make sure he's not shadowed by looking at our cornerback and wide receiver chart right there, just to make sure that he's got a positive cornerback. But he gets the targets, man. You can't argue that. So these are the guys towards the bottom that I'd be focused on. DJ Chark gets a lot of targets, gets a lot of target share. These are the types of situations that I would be in. But look at how with the quarterback, how this automatically, even though the numbers are there, really drops off the Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb look. That's going to be a little bit, they've been pricey because they've been getting all that work early in the season, and now all of a sudden they've got less than a stellar quarterback dumping the ball to them, and you're overpaying. All of a sudden, you're pretty much overpaying for these guys. So you've got to keep them down to more tournament type plays because they can still go for 80, 90, 100 yards and a touchdown. Nobody's denying that. It's just that the odds are they're going to be a little bit subpar this week. That's why we're going to keep them out of our cash games and our small GPPs and our ladder type lineups. If I come over to the tight ends, super simple. Kick that off, kick that off. Now with tight end, I do go back to home. Home tight ends tend to produce better than road tight ends. I don't know why, it just matters. But again, they want to be favored like a running back. They want to be implied to score a lot of points. So if I take the ascending order here of the spread and bring the big favorites to the top and take the team totals and cut it back down to over 23.5 points, these are the guys that are going to be the best of the best. Again, it's not the complete list. It's the best of the best. We're going to also come down here. Committees suck. So we're going to come over here to targets per game, and we're going to cut down to over 6 and see if we can't find those really, really good tight ends. There's only 3. And I don't trust Dalton Schultz anymore with Red Rifle throwing to him. Hunter Henry's in a good spot this week. Travis Kelce's in a good spot this week. Now, you can't dismiss a Darren Waller, some of these types of players, George Kittle types of players, but you don't necessarily need to pay up for these guys when you've got a Hunter Henry sitting down here at 5,800. A Jonnu Smith might be back this week. These are the types of guys that are not going to show up on this list, but you have to have enough knowledge around the league to make sure that you're not leaving some of these guys out, because again, this is just one way to cut down a player pool very, very quickly. When I go down to defensive matchups, this one gets a little bit wonky, gets a little bit backwards, but here's what I'm looking for. I want to see those players I want to see teams that are favored by more than 6 points. So again, I go ascending order and I bring the teams up to the top. Actually, see, I'm getting it backwards. I get it backwards every week. Descending, I want to bring the underdogs to the top. Why the underdogs? The underdog offense is going to produce a defense out of the opponents that I want. So if I'm looking for the spread of the underdogs, that tells me 2 things. One, they're favored to be behind in the game. Okay, they are the underdog. That means they're going to be throwing the ball late, feeding the defense sacks and turnovers more often than not, right? I'm looking for a big spread, something over about 6 points of an underdog. And if I can also find that in a team total under 20 and better yet under 18, that defense is in a smash spot. Yeah, you could say, geez, Chop, just target the Jets. Yeah, I know. But let's mathematically show you so that next year when it changes, you've learned this method and you can spot it in week 1 or week 2. Okay? That's how we're going to roll here. It's going to teach a man to fish. So it doesn't mean these defenses can't come out of nowhere. It means historically speaking, better than a 6-point underdog, lower than a 20 or an 18-point implied team total. That's the defenses you're looking at. So here again, we're going to New Orleans. Who knew? LA Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills. Okay, those would be the 4 defenses I'd be most interested in this week. Doesn't mean I won't take some of these others if something else pops up. It just means on first look, these are the guys that are going to get it going. So there you have quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends and defenses all in one video, all walked through the research station. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. If you want more advanced knowledge, you need to come inside DFSArmy.com, become a VIP, use coupon code CHOP, CHOP, And you need to ask me questions, and you need to ask our other coaches questions, because we can help make you a better player. Every single week, every single sport, every single tool, every single coach is unlocked for you when you become a VIP. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you real soon.